Welcome, Centennial Hawks, to the new true crime podcast, Deadheads. I'm here with my co-host.
Alize and my other co-host.
I'm Paul. So today we are going to be talking about the Bowling Alley Massacre. So Alize, can you tell me what happened on the day of the Bowling Alley Massacre?
So the Bowling Alley Massacre occurred on February 10th, 1990 on a Saturday. And if you didn't know, this took place in Las Cruces. There were 7 victims in total of the shooting.
Weren't 2 people responsible for the actual shooting and the robbery?
Yes, but these men were never found. There's descriptions of them, but only from 2 eyewitnesses. Other than that, no one knows.
That's very weird because I know that some of the victims were still alive after being shot, and they left. So I'm just wondering how none of them were able to get a clear description or somehow get an identity.
After they had locked all of the women and children who were there into the manager's office, they shot them all at gunpoint, or held them at gunpoint and then shot them in the head. And 12-year-old Melissa Repass, who had been shot 5 times, was able to call 911 only 9 minutes after being shot.
That is actually insane, which that brings me to my next point, the manager's office, which seems that the 2 men were looking for something before the people were being shot or held at gunpoint. Witnesses say that it seemed like they were looking for something apart from money, found a safe, opened it, got money, didn't take it all.
Yeah, they only took around $4,000 to $5,000 in the vault.
Which is very weird because typical robbers would take whole thing, go, they'd seem satisfied.
Yeah.
But these people seemed like they were looking for more, what do you think they were looking for specifically?
Well, a lot of people suspect the actual owner of the bowling alley. His name was Ronald Scenic. And he was in Tucson when it happened, but that bowling alley was actually a drug ring. People would get their drugs from there. And a lot of people think that that's what they were after, was looking for a fix. They didn't find it, and they took it out on the people who were there.
That is actually a very solid theory. I didn't know that the bowling alley was part of a drug ring, which is very interesting.
Mm-hmm. And did you know that only 1 week after this massacre occurred and several people were killed and slaughtered there, the owner opened it right back up a week later?
I've heard about that, and I forgot what it was, but I think the owner opened a gas station or something, and that's where he was found dead.
Mm-hmm. And eventually, the bowling alley got closed and was sold in a court auction because of the experiences that happened there.
I think it's very weird that of all places to be part of a drug ring, a bowling alley is one of them. Because whenever you think of drug rings, you think corporations, gas stations, probably.
Yeah, but I mean, your local bowling alley, who knew?
Yeah, and I think that's very scary.
And it was also scary because that bowling alley was also part of a daycare. They would have children dropped off there.
No way.
Yeah, that's why at least 4 children were shot and killed.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I never knew that the bowling alley was part of a daycare kind of center because I've researched it, but I've never seen anything about, daycare, bowling alley, because those two, come on, they never go hand in hand.
Yeah, but I mean, it happens.
Yeah, that's very weird.
But yeah, so that is a summary of the Las Cruces Bowling Alley Massacre.
So I know that they lit the manager's office on fire after, after looking for stuff, they only got money.
Then shot all the women and children.
Yeah. Apart from hiding their tracks, do you think there was another reason? Do you think it was to actually finish off the people that were there, or just...
I feel like the only reason they lit the place on fire after they shot the victims was in an attempt to cover their tracks. And I mean, police did extensive roadblocks and everything that they could to try and find these perpetrators of these 2 Hispanic men, but nothing ever came about.
Mm-hmm. And I think the scariest part is that they did end up stopping a van, but the people in there semi-matched the description. They had money on them.
And the same amount of money that was missing from the vault.
Yep.
But they had no real evidence. They had to let them go.
And I think that's the scariest thing because what if those were the actual people and we could have,
They might have. Like,
yeah. So this case could have been solved like a long time ago, but we still don't even know who did it. We don't have any identities. We only have
no
sketches.
fingerprints, anything.
Nothing.
All we have are the eyewitnesses of two people who, one of them being shot and 12 years old,
Yeah.
and the other one just seeing the men walk in with a briefcase before the shooting. But other than that, nothing.
That is very weird.
And it's scary because this is our community, and you never know. You know, you got to keep an eye out.
Yeah, because the Las Cruces community is like a big population, but I think the community is very small. People like know what's going around. You know, it's not like small town, like not a small farm town, not a big city. It's just small. And I think that's very scary because the people who did it might be walking right past you on the sidewalk.
It might be your neighbor. You know, you never know.
Oh, that's really scary. Like walking by like someone's house and you're like, something could be going on in there, because that's like happened with a lot of cases.
And I feel like that's just the world.
Oh, yeah. And I find it funny because this was probably like one of the quickest jobs that like happened. Like
this all happened in 9 minutes.
Yeah.
The shooting started at 8:20 a.m. and the 911 call was made at 8:29 a.m.
Yeah, so it just like fast, quick, but somehow was one of like the most well done jobs, I guess, because like
it was such a tragedy. It's like well known in this community now. Like,
yeah, it's very like popular. Like I was hearing about it in elementary school because it was just, it's that well known. And I also find it scary because was it like pre-planned? Do you think they just like went in there like, oh, we want drugs like really quick and like, let's get out?
I definitely think it was like pre-planned. I don't think it was just like a out on a limb thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had an intent. They didn't find what they were looking for. Were probably angry because at first the women were just held in the closet. And then once an officer and his two daughters, who he was dropping off to stay at the daycare, walked in, that is when he put them all there and he realized that he had to kill them.
Yeah. I find it really scary because they somehow like were able to cover all their tracks in that short amount of time of 9 minutes. And, you know, 911 responders are like really fast whenever it comes.
Yeah, they were there within 2 minutes, 911.
Yeah. So they were able to like hide their tracks, not get identified by anybody around, which
And
it's
escape, yeah.
Yeah, and it's near 9 o'clock, which, you know, at that time, most people would be going to like work and like they would be seeing these kind of people like out on the street, like holding guns and everything. You'd be like, what is happening?
Mm-hmm. And another reason why I think that it was like an inside job planned thing was because the bowling alley wasn't even open that like at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like it was just, the doors were just wide open and unlocked. Like they were setting stuff up for the day and it occurred before anyone even knew it was open. Like they had to have known that someone was in there and like going to look for something.
Yeah, because like no way they just leave the doors open like, oh, you know, it's just a casual day. We're going to leave the doors open, which no one was doing before. So that's very odd and out of the ordinary. So do you think someone working at the bowling alley might have like had a part in this?
I do think that the owner of the bowling alley probably had something to do with it. I mean, you don't just open up your bowling alley after a massacre like that. And his own daughter and niece were shot.
Yeah, and I think that's like very like scary because most people like have to grieve on that and like they'll like go into like the spot like where it happened. I'm like, oh my gosh, like
yeah, like that is your organization and that happened there. You feel like you'd have some like time to think about all that stuff, but no, he was so insincere about it. And I mean, I think that's motive right there. The fact that he was out of town when it happened, he and the two family members of his were not killed. They were just shot, but they didn't die.
Yeah, so I definitely think inside job with the owner.
Mm-hmm.
And like, do you think maybe he had like a motive to get against the people that were killed?
I don't know. I mean, everyone's motive is money. I feel like in the end, he was
Yeah.
probably getting paid off or something. But it really just makes you look at like who's in your community, who you need, like always be aware and keen of your surroundings.
Definitely be keen around your surrounding. We're running near the end of the podcast. We're hitting about 10 minutes, 10 2.5 minutes. So,
But we hope we gave you some insight and that you take this tragedy and are more aware of your situations and keep an open eye out. You never know.
stay safe out there. Don't get stabbed. This was the first podcast of the Deadheads.
Thank
See
you
you
for
later.
watching or listening.